Now that we have a basic skeleton structure for our Flask app prepared, it's time for us to begin making things a bit prettier. And we're going to do that via Bootstrap. So Bootstrap is a form of CSS. It's a CSS library that we're going to use simply because it makes it really quick and easy for us to be building some HTML pages that look quite pretty. We're going to be doing two bits here. We're really going to just be using the Bootstrap starter page to build a prettier HTML, and I want to be using several pre-built Bootstrap components. So let's see what this looks like. Back here in W3 Schools, if you are again familiar with HTML, going through all of this content would help you, between the HTML and the CSS, would help you to be able to build a pretty decent web page yourself. It's worth pointing out at this stage that W3 Schools has a really good Bootstrap section here. We're going to be using Bootstrap 4, and this will give you a whole stack of different content that you can be using. So all of these are some different Bootstrap components. We're going to go to Bootstrap itself though, so just here in Google we're going to go to Bootstrap 4. And it should just be this initial introduction page. Now, like I said, Bootstrap is a CSS library. That is, a whole lot of people have gotten together and have built this so that it is some pre-cooked CSS that people can come in and really just use boilerplate code. That is, code that has been pre-built for you that you can really just drag and drop, copy and paste in to build your components. Now, quite handily, they have this starter template available for us here. So all that I need to do is, hovering over this, I get this option here to copy to the clipboard. I'm going to left click on this starter template here, and this is going to overwrite all of the HTML that we have on our home page. So if I come back into my PyCharm instance here, and I double click on home.html, whereas previously I've got some just generic rubbish here, I'm going to go Control A to select it all, and backspace it so that it's empty, and then I'm going to go right click, paste, and it's going to dump that whole section in here. Now, some of my indenting here has been all messed up, so a really handy PyCharm trick is Control-Alt-L, and this will re-indent everything so that it's all pretty for you. So what does this actually mean? Like, what have we actually done here? So what we've done is we've imported a whole stack of content here from Bootstrap, so the Bootstrap CSS, and it's really just got this content here. It's got a title, and it's got a hello world here. So if I come back now to Starter and run this, and it will still go direct to that home, we've just gone about changing the home. We've got this hello world. Now, it doesn't really look like we've added very much at all, but what we have added here within our HTML, so to come back here to our home page, is we've added the capacity for us to add Bootstrap elements. So let's go into this part here, and we'll go and find a couple of elements. So if I were to click on, say, our components here, let's say I wanted to go about adding a Jumbotron. Jumbotron's a nice and easy starter here for us to be using. So this here looks quite nice and pretty, and someone's already pre-built for us. The beautiful thing with Bootstrap is that once you're using that starter page, you can just take this content and you can use it. So again, I'm going to click on Copy to Clipboard. I'm going to come back here to PyCharm, and I'm just going to paste. Again, indenting might be stuffed up. I'm going to hit Control-Alt-L, and that will sort it out there for me. I'm going to now go about running my starter again. Stop and rerun. And you'll see that I now have this bit here underneath my other hello world. The beautiful thing again with Bootstrap is that there are so many options available to us. Let's say I want some navbars for us to use. Well, all of these are all componentized. That is, if I want to use this navbar here, I can take that code and copy and paste it in. I can use this sort of navbar or this sort of navbar. It effectively is this enormous menu that you can go about using. Bootstrap is also quite easy to recognize what components you're using and what classes are being used here. So as a quick demo, if I scroll down, and I quite like this dark navbar here, well, you'll see that the way that it gets this dark navbar is that it uses these classes. Again, I'm going to presume at this stage that you're familiar with HTML and CSS a little bit and adding classes. So to do a quick demo for how I can go about adding a navbar right at the very top of my page, if I scroll up and I find a navbar that I like, let's say I want to use this one here, well, I'm going to copy that and I'm going to paste that probably below my Jumbotron. Control-Alt-L to get it all nice and pretty. I'm going to scroll up and I'm going to get rid of that H1 hello world and delete that, because that is, you might remember, is this part at the top here. So we're going to get rid of that. So we're going to have this hello world with a navbar underneath it, and we might see if we want the navbar above or beneath it, but for now we've got it below. So the beautiful thing with Bootstrap is that if you are familiar with CSS, you should be able to read some of this and have a quick look at what all of this looks like and where it is that any of these changes are actually happening. So if I were to go about running this, we'll do a quick demo of how you can go about editing this nice and easily. You'll see that now I have my hello world and I have my navbar here, but it's not dark, which is what I actually wanted. Well, again, back here under my Bootstrap pages, you'll see that it gives me this bit here to say nav class, and this is how you go about making it dark. And so all I need to do is make sure that this reads as navbar, navbar-dark, and this bg dark. So if I were to skip back in here, where I have navbar light, if I were to make this navbar dark, I'm changing the class of it, dark, and now if I go about hitting run and reload this page, you'll see that now I have a dark navbar. Now whereas before I thought that my navbar might look good underneath here, I actually don't like that. I prefer my navbar to be right along the top here. Again, the beautiful thing with all of our componentized and modularized components is that I can select what I want. In this case, I want to take this Jumbotron and I'm going to cut it, that is with Control X. I'm going to tidy up some code here. I'm going to go below this navbar and I'm going to paste it in here. And now when I hit run, stop and rerun, I now have my navbar at the top. So the beautiful, beautiful functionality that's available to you here with Bootstrap is really, really handy for you to go about adding and editing things. So it would definitely be worth you going and having a quick look over some of the options that are available for you here, and see how many of these may or may not be useful for you in the future, and just be familiar with what options are available to you via Bootstrap. One that we are going to have a look at here is cards, just so that we're dumping some extra content here beneath our Jumbotron. Our cards is just this block of an image here with a bit of a title and some text underneath it, usually with a button. And what we're going to want is a set of cards. So I'm going to scroll down. Again, it's a bit like looking at a menu here. So this is a nice sort of card. I might like something like this so that I've got the cards here within a grid. So again, feel free to have a look around because there's loads of different options available to you here. But for now, I'm just going to use these two, or this one element, I should say. I'm going to hit copy. I'm going to skip back here into PyCharm, and beneath my Jumbotron, I'm going to paste that card element, and I'm going to Control-Alt-L. Now when I hit run, stop and rerun, and open this up, you'll see that I now have these elements here. Now again, with it being relatively easy for you to view and to understand what's going on here, the beautiful thing is that, let's say we want to change some of these options. So if I were to skip back into here, you'll see that my navbar has navbar, home, features, pricing, drop-down link, etc. Well, I can see that here under my list items. So home, features, pricing. Now what I'm eventually going to do is build a bit of a travel blog. So I might have locations, I might have image gallery, and I might actually get rid of the drop down entirely for now. So I don't think I'm going to need that. So again, it's quite handy because of how modularized it is. So I can select this entire list item here. That is from the nav item drop down. So this part here, it's going to highlight where is the next list item. I'm going to select that. I'm going to get rid of it entirely. And now when I hit go, stop and rerun, you'll see that now I've got home, locations, image gallery, etc., etc. This gives me lots of flexibility with how I go about constructing my site. Let's say I don't want this button here. Well, I can go and find where that button is within my Jumbotron. So I'm going to scroll down, and here's my class Jumbotron here. And it's going, and I'm really just looking for where is a button here. So I've got this P class lead, and you'll see that I have an anchor tab here that is a button. So I can presume that if I were to get rid of this anchor tab here, and that would remove the button. And because this will leave a empty class here as well, this empty P, I can probably get rid of that as well. And I can go about hitting stop and rerun. You'll see that now I can get rid of the button. So it's worth going and having a quick glance around all of the options available to you in Bootstrap, drop a couple of extra elements in here and see how you can go about customizing it. You'll see that a lot of it looks quite confusing initially, but when you do start digging down into how it is that Bootstrap functions and what sorts of components are available to you, it's quite intuitive.